featured review time. And yes, we are talking Dune Part 2, the new installment from Denis Villeneuve's epic adaptation of the wild sci-fi book. Todd, you're going to go first on this. Tell us all
Okay.
about Dune Part 2 and what you thought.
All
Todd wins the
right.
prize.
Directed by Denis Villeneuve. This takes up where the first one left off, pretty much. Paul Atreides, played by Timothee Chalamet, is continuing his rebellion against the House Harkonnen and those who like destroyed his family. Stellan Skarsgård is the head of the Harkonnen house. His crazy nephew is Dave Bautista. His other like warrior nephew is played by Austin Butler. And you also have this other part of the story with the Emperor, played by Oscar winner Christopher Walken, and Florence Pugh as his daughter. And the daughter is sort of like chronicling Paul's quest. And the cast is insane. Like basically every character is a famous person. Um, I wasn't like a huge fan of the first one. I saw it on HBO though, but I was still kind of got the idea, and like the visuals and the sound were really good. And but the story overall kind of left me a little cold, not just because it was incomplete. But this one makes it a little bit more palatable. The movie is just so enthralled with its own mythology. It's like if you take the ego of like James Cameron making the Terminator movies and mix it with Star Wars or something, and you make it all like this really packed, withdrawn, uninviting premise. That's sort of what Dune is, and everything is underplayed, which works for like kind of a chunk of it. But it's paced so slowly. It's like The Mandalorian or something like that. Some of the visuals look unfinished too. Like I said, the explosions just felt a little off. I wasn't really expecting to not be blown away visually by the movie. Chalamet is interesting in this. I think he's a good actor. I just don't think he's a great movie star. Like he's sort of like Glenn Powell in that way. Like he's all wrong for this role. I feel like he kind of sounds like Tobey Maguire. Um, Zendaya is really good. She shines especially in the second half. Stellan Skarsgård, I mean, he's kind of distracting. His voice kind of sounds like the bad guy in Police Academy 6. I honestly, the movie doesn't really take off until Josh Brolin and Austin Butler show up. Like Butler is insane. Like I have no idea what he's doing with his voice, but it was working. Like he's at this fascinating stage in his career. Like he could be our next like Edward Norton. He could be our next like Sean Penn. He could be our next Kevin Spacey. I don't know, because he's like following up his Oscar movie with this like scenery chewing like villain role, and I think it works. I mean, after he shows up, it becomes more of this like Shakespearean drama kind of thing, rather than just like endless sandstorm scenes that we get in the first half. I had there's a weird like conversation they have about like water, and like I don't know how Cheney even knew what the idea of diving is if into water, if water was like foreign to her. Like what else are you diving into? Like and like that kind of like wandering mind thing I had was like prevalent throughout the movie, because I'm just like I wasn't really that into the overall drama of it. There's way too much backstory. It probably would help to have read the book, or I mean, just make it like a full mini series or something. It's terrific to look at. It's not exactly terrific to watch, but it's still like a solid 3 stars, and a definite step up from the first one, which was like a lower 3 star. So this is like it's fine. It's a 3 star movie, and I don't really I don't know. I mean, it's probably gonna get nominated for a bunch of Oscars.
Yeah, probably. I'll go next on this one. Yeah, I'm giving it 3 stars too. I gave the first one 3.5. I really like that one, especially how it built the world. I thought was really cool in the first one, and this one, now that the world was built, I don't know. I felt like it was trying to do way too much. The first half of the movie, it made like plot jumps that didn't make any sense. Like, oh, okay, you just gave him a new name, and 30 seconds later, oh, everyone knows the name now and is scared of it. Okay, that just happened. Oh, you're going to go on this quest to prove yourself in the desert, and oh, 30 seconds later, you're back from it. And that wasn't much of a quest. Little things like that just kind of bothered me. Um, and yeah, it felt like it felt like it assumed everyone watching it knew a lot more about it than they actually did. Like not everyone that's watching this knows the book and read the book. Uh, it is still a beautiful movie. Denis Villeneuve knows what he's doing behind the camera for sure. Yeah, Austin Butler's kind of nuts in this. He is yeah, I don't know what he was doing with his voice. It was like if uh if like Elvis had throat cancer but looked like Deadpool from X-Men Origins Wolverine. That was Austin Butler in this. And I think every movie Timothée Chalamet is in from now on, he has to declare to a crowd what his name is. My name is Willy Wonka. Um, because he's done it like two movies in a row in the last 3 months.
That's the
So
Harvey Milk thing.
it is. I think he needs to do it every movie now. But yeah, I'm giving it 3 stars just simply for the spectacle of it. It's a feat to accomplish. I think it hurt this movie that two of the most interesting characters from the first one died in the first one and weren't back. Jason Momoa and Oscar Isaac. I think that kind of hurt
Right.
it. Rebecca Ferguson, I don't really know what she's doing in this. Her character is just odd and weird. I still am not sure what Stellan Skarsgård is, but yeah, three
Basically,
stars.
Jabba the Hutt.
He's basically Jabba the Hutt, but played by name that Skarsgård. 3 stars. I don't know how, but this is currently number 12 on the IMDb top movies of all time. Everyone is just drooling over this movie, and I don't really understand why. Everyone kind of said everyone loved the first Dune because you have to love the first Dune. The first Dune I thought was really good. This one I think everyone's loving because they have to love it, and it's just like the thing to do. It was predetermined that everyone was going to love this movie, and so they are.
Well, Villeneuve is basically another Nolan, where it's like people are like shying away from actually giving bad reviews to his movies. Like, I mean, and for some reason he's super popular, like with even normies, you know.
Yeah, Zach,
Oh, those normies.
it sounds like you really understand what this movie's all about.
Absolutely. So to prepare myself, I actually tried to watch the first Dune, made it through about 20 minutes of it. Then I went to YouTube and did a overview of the first Dune movie, so you know what the hell you're watching. Made it through about 10 minutes of that. I was not looking forward to going into this movie. I think give it the Oscar already. There is no question. The first Dune movie won 6 Oscars. This has to be the clear-cut favorite for Best Picture.
It wasn't nominated for Best Director.
But it's Two Towers type thing. Like there's another one. So
Well,
maybe they'll wait.
yes. I mean, mild spoiler alert, but no, people absolutely like jizz in their pants over this shit, and I don't really understand why. But I will say the experience of it, the dread going into it, knowing that it was 2 hours and 40 minutes of a movie that I couldn't tolerate 10 minutes of an hour before. I gotta say, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I think Todd is right. It's a really interesting movie to, I guess, visualize. I can't remember exactly what he said, but not like actually follow or process. It's just like a spectacle. It's like a boat ride through the river forest or something. Like, oh, interesting, sand worm thing right there, and interesting tower there. I don't really know or care what's happening in the story, but it's interesting to look at. There's, I guess, some really cool character designs in it. Austin Butler, aka Elvis, I'm not quite sure what he was doing in the movie. I also thought it was odd that he got introduced like 90 minutes in. I thought that was strange. I thought Stellan Skarsgård, it would have been the role that Marlon Brando would have played if this movie had been made 40 years ago. Although it was made 40 years ago by of course David Lynch, and I kind of want to watch that. Do you know who played the Austin Butler role in the original Dune? I found this up in one of my tutorials. It was Sting. Isn't that amazing? It's wonderful casting. Anyway,
I forgot the cast of that movie.
So I feel like there's some there's obviously a thrill apparently in our culture to be overwhelmed and exhausted by a movie. Maybe it's because we're inundated by social media and we just scroll through things, and something that bores us after 5 seconds we have the ability to go through. But somehow directors like Nolan and Villeneuve, who are completely incapable of telling a human story with compassion and empathy, are praised because of what great storytellers they are, because we don't understand it. Great. I wish we were, as a culture, could get past the fact that no one understands these movies and that they're incoherent. The movie is soulless. It's predictable. There's no humor in it. I think Javier Bardem tries to have some funny lines in it, but they fall pretty flat. This is maximalist cinema. It doesn't really care about explaining anything. It doesn't really care that the audience doesn't understand. And in a way, I kind of respect that until it gets all the praise that it gets. I also have to say that the unborn baby element with Rebecca Ferguson was just strange. I didn't know I could not understand that storyline at all. And there were many storylines I couldn't understand, but that one had to be the top. I do have to say it was refreshing seeing Zendaya more in this movie. I remember the first movie thinking, okay, Zendaya, let's have a badass actress who's there to kick some hurricane ass or whatever. But she was only like the last 5 minutes of that movie. It was a total tease. But she's in a lot more of this movie, and she's the best part of the movie. I think the movie actually should have focused on her. And I think it gets to my biggest qualm with the movie, which is that isn't the whole movie just a white savior story about Paul, white-skinned, blue-eyed Paul, leading these group of the Furman out of their oppression so they can defeat the evil houses? To me, it's like, and no one seems to want to talk about that, but whatever. This movie has Star Wars. Oh, it has Lord of the Rings. I feel like Stefan. It has Harry Potter. It has The Matrix. It has Marvel in it. It has everything in it, and it feels incredibly derivative. But it wasn't entirely as bad as I thought it was going to be, and I really don't know why I gave the first one 3 stars. So I'm giving it a 2.5 stars, very generous, because I know there are fans of Dune that probably will like this shit. It really, what it recalled was the line that Christine's dad has. And this was originally going to be my quote of the day, which is why he hates fiction, because there's so much to know about the world that I think reading a story someone just invented is kind of a waste of time. I thought a lot about Christine's dad watching this movie, and I think he would have the same reaction.
Well, that's an interesting perspective.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of in the same spot. I don't know why everyone is freaking out about this movie, but it's not bad. I might like it a little bit more if everyone wasn't saying it was like the greatest movie of all time. So,
I reserve the right to lower my rating of it if it really does get nominated for 12 Oscars. I reserve the right to move it down to the Oppenheimer range when it gets overpraised by the Academy.
We already know Zach is moving it down a half star for every Oscar nomination it gets. So
exactly, yes.
No, let's say like over under 3. So if it gets 3 Oscar nominations, his rating is staying exactly the same. For everyone under 3, it's going to go up a half star. For everyone over 3, it's going down a half star.
Sounds like a fun
Well,
game.
it's already locked for like sound and visual effects, probably score, probably makeup, probably art direction, probably cinematography. Like it's already got like 5 or 6 that's in the bag.
People are saying like this is like Denis Villeneuve's Empire Strikes Back after Dune. I don't know. I don't see it. I think part of what you're saying though, Todd, it's a lock for all those, partially because technically it's an amazing movie, but also with the writer's strike, there's not going to be a ton of competition because so many movies got put on hold that it's going to be kind of a lighter year, especially when it comes to the big blockbuster stuff.
Even Bong's movie got pushed back to January. Like I'm like,
Wasn't
is it
that
really
one
getting
done?
released in January?
I thought that one was done.
Well, yeah, it was going to get released like in a couple months, but then they pushed it, or they took it off the board, and then they put it back in January. I'm like, it's like just a straight January wide release. It's weird.
That is weird.
But yeah, that was all because of the writer strike, that stuff.
Yeah. All right, so 3 stars for me and Todd, 2.5 from Zach. It is in theaters. I think everybody's going to see it. Number 12 of all time, apparently, on IMDb. I haven't looked at the box office yet.
It made $81.5 million.
81.5 million. And what did second place make? Like 2?
7.4 from Bob Marley.
Bob Marley's still hanging on. Attaway.
People love their biopics. Drive-Away Dolls, number 11.
Wow. Well, we have
$35
another poll. There's another
the
poll
theater
that
that you
Adam
saw
put
it.
on YouTube, and this one was all about Dune. So let's look at this one really quick. Dune 2 is in theaters. Which Dune is your favorite?
I voted for the first one.
60% said Dune Part 2. 21% said Dune from 2021, the first part 1 of this. And 19% said David Lynch's Dune from 1984.
Yeah, that's what I voted for. Because to cast Sting as the main villain in it is pretty awesome. I like the conversation that Todd was having about Austin Butler. I think that is intriguing because he's like unpredictable. He's like someone at the 9 a.m. poker table who's had many Irish coffees. You just can't predict what direction he's going to go in his career. He could like pull a Jim Carrey or like a Joaquin Phoenix, go very meta. I don't know. Maybe he should team up with Werner Herzog. That would be fun.
All I know is
Can
that
we make
right
the
now,
dream Austin Butler like trajectory the next 10 years? That should be a segment we have. That should have been this week's segment. What do you think of that, Jay?
Yeah, that'll be a spotlight segment for sure.
4-0 Nebraska, by the way.
All right.